I call this meeting to order at 4:01 p.m. We'll be starting with both. Lydia, here. Isaac, here. Zach, Hannah, here. Caitlin, Bethia, here. Joel,
Not here.
Javier,
Here.
Ariana, yeah.
Not here.
Edith,
Here.
Ted,
Here.
Megan, here. Benjamin,
Here.
Berenchi,
Here.
Leandre,
Here.
Aaron.
Not
Aaron,
here.
okay. Ria, here. Adrian,
Not here.
Brenna, here. Jason,
Here.
Nicholas,
Here.
Kate, here. Matthew, here. Daniela, here. Crystal, here. Eddie,
Here.
Anish,
Here.
Davin, Davin,
Here.
Peter,
Yeah.
anything else?
Here.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 20th, 2024? Javier,
I move to approve the minutes for March 20th, 2024, and the revised minutes for March 13th, 2020.
I think they're being separate.
What?
Separate.
I move to approve the minutes as amended for March 13th, 2024.
Okay, then,
I second this.
okay, moved by Javier, seconded by Benjamin for the March 13th revised minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 20th? Isaac,
Move.
Ted,
Second.
moved by Isaac, seconded by Ted to approve the minutes of March 20th. Moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments? Moving on to advisor. With the advisors in the room, like.
Well, I want to say welcome back. Hope you all had a great spring break. For all of the new folks who will be our new Senate exec, congratulations. Glad to see many of you here already shadowing your person, so that's good. There is a few things. This is going to be a very busy month. This quarter is going to go super fast. So tomorrow, you should have all received an email from Malia about the town hall, the Chancellor's Town Hall meeting. We are highly encouraging all of you to attend because there's two very important items on the Chancellor's agenda. The first part from 11:45 to 12:45, it's upstairs in conference room A and B. He is going to be asking for feedback of what we want to see in our new president, as that search is going to be underway. And then the second half, 12:45 to 1:45, he's going to switch the discussion to the medical building. So as you all know, the medical building is being slated to be built with the parking lot fee, which will impact our flea market. So it's really critical that we show up in person if you can, but there is a Zoom link so that you can also, I believe, participate online. How many of you think you can be there in person tomorrow? Because I'm driving all the way from DRI to be here in person so that our physical presence will make a statement. So for all current senators and for the newly elected, how many can be there tomorrow? I'm seeing a lot of hands here. We really need for folks to show up tomorrow. It's really critical. And you are all the voice of our student constituents. And so this is part of your role, part of your job. So please make every effort. I know some of you, like Lydia, has classes right at that time, so totally get it. But if you don't have much going on, or you can move your work schedule around or move some things around, please do your hardest to be there. Yes.
What time?
It's from 11:45 to 1:45. This is tomorrow, April 18th, upstairs in conference rooms A and B. Again, the first hour, we're gonna be talking about the president. The second hour, if you can only make it for 1 hour, come to the second half, which is 12:45 to 1:45, where we're gonna be discussing the medical building. The second thing I wanna make sure that you all know is on April 27th, the last Saturday of this month, we're having the enrollment day event. That is where we have invited all the prospective students and parents. It's a huge event that the Office of Outreach puts on. There will be a table for DSAG, so we need DSAG to show up and table that event. So it's like a big resource fair for families to come in. And your job is to try to encourage students to come to the end because some of them haven't committed. So as you know, enrollment has gone down. That impacts our ability to make more money because we have less bodies, less money that comes into us. So I will work with Isaac. If we, but we need to confirm who can actually be here that day to table the event. Okay.
Thank you. Dennis or Olivia.
The only thing would be. Yes, the only thing would be, you should have all received the email that the elections have been extended 1 week for the chair of finance runoff. So last day to vote will be next Tuesday. That is, I think, the 23rd, 11:59 p.m. And then Wednesday, and then expense reports and complaint forms, if any, are due 12 p.m. Tuesday, the 23rd. The 24th, 12:30, admin will meet for the elections committee meeting. Go over expense reports and so on, and then at the Senate meeting, 4 p.m., there will be an item on the agenda for appeals if.
Okay, moving on to advisors online, Dana or Marita.
I can start. I'm multitasking for ICC stuff. So I appreciate your patience because it's been a busy time with ICC, but I do just want to emphasize with the chair of finance runoff, please, please, please use all tools in your arsenal to help get the votes, because the sooner we can finish that, the sooner we can start our training for next year's team. We really don't want to delay this too much. We want to make sure everyone gets what they need to get their packet done and get oriented and trained. We also don't want to start the exec training without the chair of finance. It's a crucial position. So please help us with that. You should be, again, like promoting it everywhere, sharing it in every single one of your classes, tell your friends, whatever you got to do. So I just want to emphasize it's having an impact on our training now. And then just know I'll be in touch with folks or through Malia about how we want our current and soon to be leaving leadership to be involved in training, but we want there to be a transition and an onboarding process. One of the requirements is going to be that all incoming officers meet with essentially who they are succeeding. So just for current folks, just make sure you're ready to help out with those trainings on Fridays. So just look out for that. You're going to hear a lot more about ICC in a bit, but I just want to ask, make sure that you're in contact with the programs committee that are really taking the lead with all the upcoming tabling opportunities that were mentioned. Just make sure that we have shifts filled for all the upcoming events, and then just make sure that you are keeping track of your expenses and submitting reimbursement forms in a timely manner, because we are coming up to the end of the fiscal year now. So we do not want to wait until the last minute and give Lisa and Jennifer too much more work at the end of the year. but the many is also not going to be available anymore after in the summer. So make sure that you're doing that and that you reach out to us if you don't know how to do those forms still. I think that's it for me for now.
Thank you, Melissa. Dana, do you have anything to add?
Only that I will be at the town hall meeting tomorrow, in conference room A and B, and I hope to see as many as possible, attending. I think it will be a really interesting, couple hours. They'll be doing question and answers, regarding the medical center, and that affects the flea market as far as the location. And, we're already really busy. We have a lot of events going on campus. And so just your participation throughout this quarter, it will be wonderful, and looking forward to a great spring quarter with everybody. Thank you very much.
Just to reiterate, I'll send an announcement out for the town hall students, but for any students in the room, incoming chairs, as well as anyone else, especially for next year, the issues that we're talking about will be really important for you all, so I really encourage you to attend the town. I think we have a public comment from Daniel, so we can. Daniel?
Yeah, hey, good afternoon, Chair. Can you hear me? Excellent. All right. It took me a little bit of digging to get to this agenda or to this meeting. I clicked on 3 different links, and it sent me to a couple other previous years. But anyways, I'm glad to be here. Real quick introduction to myself. My name is Daniel Orta. I'm the current president for our STEM club at Hartnell College. And I actually served on the Student Senate for California Community Colleges as the vice chair and previous chair of internal affairs. And I did work a lot on it, and I contributed to this community and our whole region at large. And so I just wanted to show up today and just have a couple things I wanted to share with the student body here. Number one, I'm not sure if you've heard, but NASA has a program going on where they're looking for additional students to participate in their Aerospace Scholars Program. So if you're interested in doing that, it's called NCAS, NCAS through STEM Gateway. And yeah, it's really exciting. I'm an alumni at that organization, and I'm currently involved in something called the Kibo Challenge. It's a partnership between the Japanese and US space agencies for robotic programming. So that's pretty cool. And also one more thing, I wanted to bring up something, an unfortunate experience I had with one of the members of, I'm not sure if it's part of this organization, the student body elected, but it was from a representative from DASG, and I needed to, it was very important, it's very important to express that it was very uncomfortable. And this person, Nina Haywood, I'm not sure if she's in a position here at DASG, but she showed up to an SSCCC meeting and made false claims stating that I shouldn't be allowed to participate in student leadership governance because I was, quote, under investigation. And this was on May 10th. And it had a very negative impact on my credibility and my ability to lead. And it's very, very uncomfortable. And that statement was false. In fact, there is an investigation going on for the removal proceedings of students at large. Right? There's an actual process where people are weaponizing the articles of removal to remove students. So that is what's under investigation, not me. And so I wanted to come to today's board and just clarify that. And I really hope that in the future, student leaders can be a little bit more responsible in what they say and how it impacts people's lives, because it is part of a larger trend of bullying in our region. And I'm hoping that we can avoid these problems in the future. And so I appeal to you, Chair, to communicate with your advisors and your student board and everybody around you for, being kind to each other and saying things that stick with the facts. And if you have an issue politically different from other people, argue the idea. but attacking people personally, especially saying false things, it's not kind, you know. And I wanted to appeal that to you guys. Thank you for letting me comment.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. I'm not entirely aware of what you are referring to, so I'd like to follow up with you on that. Could I send you my email? Send you my email?
Absolutely.
I'll put it in the.
And again, thank you, Chair,
Thanks for
for
your public comment and thank you for sharing this with us.
thank you, Madam
Reggie?
President.
I can respond to the public comment, right?
Okay. I hope to hear back from you about that, so we can look into that. But, for now, let's move on to Senate. Is there anything? Caitlin?
DHG marketing has, official DHG marketing has, official.
You have your mute.
Is anyone on Zoom?
It was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, for the committees, if you're putting in a form, marketing request, we should put it in that form.
Is this a committee report? No. Okay, that's it.
So I just wanted to, I guess they're like field hour opportunities that we have. So there's enrollment day next Saturday, which we made an announcement about. But there's also Earth Week happening next week. And then Club Day is also gonna be next Thursday, so I'm gonna drop links to sign up for a shift for all of those in the Senate chat. So please, if you're able to, for at least like one of those things, like please stable, we need to have like the DHG representation at all of these things, so yeah, please be there. I'm gonna put in chat right now.
Okay, are there any more Adrian?
And mine is just a follow-up on the Earth Week. Please table for this. For one of the days, we have it all the way covered for all of it, but for the last two, we have an hour and a half block that has nobody signed up to the table. So if we can get somebody, please be there for that last hour and a half block for Tuesday and Wednesday. I'd really appreciate that. I'm signed up for like 2.5 hours for every single one of these days, but I can't be there for the whole time. So please, someone sign up for. Okay, let's see. I put it in the Senate chat yesterday. So okay, it should be there. Okay, yeah, put it in the Senate chat. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other Senate announcements? Ian?
So the upcoming May 4th flea market, we're kind of collaborating with Bay Area Gamers Heaven. They're gonna have something called a Hachi market. Within our main flea market. And it's mainly pop culture stuff, so like K-pop, gaming, anime, like cosplay, if you guys are into that kind of stuff. In the OCL, we have some cards that if you kind of hold on to those cards and you bring it during the Hachi market, you can get 10% off. OCL is closed right now, but you guys can drop by anytime before the May 4th market. But yeah, do come and check it out if it's something that y'all like and help spread the word. And also the town hall thing, so yeah.
Are there any other Senate announcements? Okay, moving on to student trip announcements.
Yeah, so I guess like first off, I just wanted to mention that like, I'm trustee, I'm like sort of my own thing, my bubble. But then like, I'm also a DHG executive, so I guess that one of my responsibilities is also to make sure that this whole group treats each other with kindness and all. And I know that the next couple of days are gonna be very eventful with college decisions, so last year's DHG president, Amy, released this message around this time period, and it really resonated with me and a lot of people back then. So I guess I just wanted to bring it up as well, so I'll reread it, quoting Amy. As a lot of college decisions are being released, I just wanted to say that no matter where you all go, you are all hard workers and be successful in your respective colleges. Remember that in the long term, college is just a name and the experience is what you make of it. When celebrating, just be mindful that there may be people who didn't get into the top college of their choice. Not everyone's target college is UC Berkeley or UCLA. Everyone has a different life story and different destinations. Always treat each other with kindness and sensitivity, and congratulations to all our grads. So just wanted to mention that, especially like, you know, Berkeley is coming out on Friday and there are rumors that UCLA comes out in 9 minutes, but yeah. Just wanted to mention it. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, moving on. What else did we do? Today was Foothill Club Day. So thank you to Rinchi, Caitlin, Ben, and Javin for coming. That went really well. We got a couple people that like just come up to us. We also know that Foothill is going to be coming to our club day next week, actually. So yeah, that's going to be fun. And then on to my monthly board report. So okay. The board of trustees met on Monday, April 1st. They're like, for stuff that we discussed at the meeting, surplus of old e-bikes at OCL right now can't be repaired. So they're being donated to Community Cycle and will make space for new e-bikes and Community Cycle. This organization is going to send those to the more courses have been revised and certain certificate and degree programs have been approved. The district will recognize Black Student Success Week next week during April 22nd to 26th. That's going to be like a big district thing. There are currently plans to redo the flooring and interior painting of PE Building 1. The beach volleyball facility is estimated to be ready by this spring. Some accessories and vertical machining center are being purchased for Dianza's machining and computer and numerical control programs. Is that right? And then there are new Measure C projects. For one, both the stadium and the track display will be upgraded. So everyone who's in track, good for you. And the room L7 will receive infrastructure upgrades. That's it. Thank you.
Moving on to shared governance.
So college council met on March 21st, 2024, where we proposed and discussed changes in the college council membership. We try to emphasize equality and universal each classification. So there were two proposals. We added 3 vice presidents as to add advisory voting members. And the second proposal is to add 1 vice president and 1 student. This will be adding as an action item next meeting. There is also a strategic planning implementation update where we encourage people to come to the next college-wide planning session on April 19th. And there was also the accreditation update, which provided timeline for the accreditation process. There is also the town hall event that took place last Friday by then. Finally, there's a Measure G update where we presented the study session on reallocation. We discussed between 3 proposals. The first one was favored, while some wanted to see a 4th new proposal.
So academic senate met past Monday. We approved the hiring committee for the auto tech position and the equity faculty coordinator. We went over a proposal to allow campus leads to use phasers. It's just information discussion, but if it's something you're interested about, there are links and just like a screenshot I added in the shared doc reports. Isaac helped request support for the DASG resolution on block scheduling. So thank you, Isaac. And then we approved academic senate scholarships, but they kind of renamed it to awards to kind of better allow for financial aid distribution. And this scholarship is not something we can really apply for. It's faculty kind of nominate students that they feel are actually good students. So go pop off to be your academic weapons. And lastly, we're just going over the program consultation committee proposal, the academic senate constitution and bylaws, and they went over the proposed resolutions for the academic senate, whatever the CCC stands for after that, spring plenary for 2024. And all the links are in the shared chat. Yeah.
Curriculum met yesterday and we basically went over the upper course division forms, request forms. Still need to wait for members to get feedback onto that. And I think there was a discussion about Bloomberg text words or something.
Bloom's taxonomy.
Bloom's taxonomy words on course outline, and that's about it.
Are there any
Rat met yesterday, we discussed the timeline for the student order and we also discussed feedback on order.
Classified Senate met yesterday and they talked about mainly what they want to see in the next president of college. Like attributes, character, yada yada. Okay. Benjamin,
We talked about yesterday, we talked about the annual status for the aid because of falling enrollment trends, we are under $37 million in order to qualify for this. And this is important because it means we're not, we have more freedom on, that's the uncertainty of state and government funding. That is, you know, we talked about.
Are there any other paragraphs? Okay, moving on to internal DASG committee. I think,
The administration met today and the election was delayed, so.
okay.
yeah, okay, so programs met yesterday and we talked about a lot of stuff that we have for the quarter, so for ES related things, we have the Earth Week, which is the main focus, so I mentioned that already, so please sign up, get your field hours. Next week, there's 3 different days with different events happening each day. So the first day is going to be in the main pod, and it's like a Earth Overshoot Day, which is, Adrian, don't explain what that is.
Earth Overshoot Day is basically, so each individual person has their own like Earth Overshoot Day. But that's when they use their like allotted resources to be sustainable, right? So, I mean, most people use they reach their own personal overshoot day. Like some people just a couple months into the year, some people make it almost the whole year. So basically, it's like a little self-survey to see your own personal habits and where you can improve towards living a more sustainable lifestyle.
And then they'll like get something for participating. And then the second day is a recycling day in the cafeteria. The third day is they can like learn about endangered animals in the main pod. And so each day there's gonna be like an incentive for them to come interact. So yeah, that is for that. Then we have mini flea market, which is planned for May 21st, I believe. So we just discussed some of the logistics for that, what we want to see or not see, and stuff like that. Then we talked about club day. Our theme is going to be Kung Fu Panda for our club day this year. So, yeah, we're gonna get like ears and then ideally wear black and white or something, or your DSG sweater if you really want to. And then, what else? Oh yeah, okay, we also have the carnival, which is planning is ongoing for that. We discussed like, we kind of voted on what food trucks we want to look into getting, and so Ria, Leandra, and Chenko are working on all of that stuff, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Just please make sure you sign up for club day because our tables have been slacking the past 2 quarters. And make sure you sign up to help out with Earth Week and also enrollment day again. We kind of are in charge of, so please come out to that. It's only from 9 to 1, so you can come at like, you know, if you don't want to wake up at 9, you can come at 12 or 10. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hannah, I think you had your.
Yeah, so as already met today, we planned free resource there and talked about undocumented students fellowship. And we discussed and introduced a proposal by an intern for free admin.
Yeah, so I report for ICC. We just had our ICC rep meeting. And our past vice chair, Milton, he succeeded Will, and now he's the vice chair of, he's the chair of finance. And yeah, club day will be next week, Thursday, April 24th.
And we just elected our new, next year's chair of finance, Amelia. Congrats.
Finance met on Monday, and we're continuing a lot of the committee projects we started last quarter. So that includes like the outreach stuff, and then also what else was there? Yeah, there was outreach. Oh yeah, the improved forms. But then I think for this quarter, we're focusing a lot on our preparation for the presentation of the budget, with the new budget to the Board of Trustees. So we're working on the presentation, and then Lydia and I are working on the what I call it, the letter, right? The cover letter. And we should get that done soon. So yeah, that's about it.
Marketing has not met yet, but we're meeting tomorrow to the 3 p.m. in the same chambers. As a reminder, we created an impactful marketing request form, so please fill that out instead of going through this where we talk about it. The new sheet during the lab with power pop is out, so if you haven't tried it during this time, feel free to go upstairs and get it. Carnival marketing is in progress and Earth Day is decided in August. Oh, and we also have another Instagram account.
That's it. Yeah, I forgot to add, programming is also gonna start meeting in the student council chambers, because we have like over 20 interns, so we're just not fitting in the lounge anymore, so. If you know anyone who is interested, just let them know we're gonna be meeting here at the same time.
Okay, moving on to consent calendar. Can I get a motion to review? Isaac. Javier.
Second.
Moved by Isaac, seconded by Javier. Any objections? Being none, we'll be moving on to the first business item, which is the intercultural studies graduation requirements discussion. So this item is to get student input on potential changes to the economically in the students, specifically on intercultural studies. So we have Katarina and Isaac to present.
Yeah.
If you want me to go behind the station.
Yeah.
Or
Everyone. So basically, curriculum committee wanted to get some opinions concerning GE patterns, which affects your graduation requirement for at the end of. So basically, there has been a Title V change from the state government. So does anyone know what Title V is? You know, raise your hand. No, okay, good. So Title V basically is just, there has been a change in general education requirements in which that they want to provide students with a direct route to graduation and with clear course choices to enable them to have easier transitions in case of changes in academic goal, as well as aligning local GE patterns with the Cal Get C areas in which the students would have an easier time navigating between the patterns and compare and contrast course requirements. And finally, to integrate the reading, writing, and math tendencies into the GE pattern, to separate Title V competency requirements would not be necessary. So here are the areas right now. Now, as you, if you're transferring next year, you probably know that you're gonna have to take an ethnic studies, right? For your GEs. Now, basically, this is the ethnic studies here, but currently, DeAnda also has an area for the physical, mental wellness, and personal development here. So curriculum wants to know that, would you like for those two areas to be combined in a way in which that you're just gonna have one area to fulfill that requirement, or do you want it to be separate? If that makes any sense.
In other words, would you like to take an active? So essentially what we're asking is, because ethnic studies is the smaller subset of the intercultural studies, right? So if now the new pattern, which the state wants to align to, is the Calgetsy, right? So they basically are only requiring ethnic studies, which is just the 4 aggrieved groups, right? Asian American, African American, Native American, right, Latino. So that's not all of intercultural studies, right? An example is women's studies. So Nyanza, it's ahead of our times. So we've always been requiring extras, which is the ICS graduation requirement, right? And there's more choices in that sense. So to retain the ICS graduation requirement, essentially what we're saying is we are requiring 2 courses instead of just done with the ethnic studies and you're done with the graduation requirement. So if we keep the ICS,
Mhm.
that means you
Need an
take
extra.
another one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so. What is your opinion on that, I guess? So, in other words. Since the state now requires everyone to take ethnic studies as a requirement, so you have to take it to graduate. Now that DeAnza originally has an ICS requirement, and ethnic studies is like part of ICS. But the fact that you take ICS doesn't mean that you take ethnic studies, right? So. If we keep both the ICS requirement and the ethnic studies, you would have 2 courses that you have to take. But if you replace the ICS area with the ethnic studies, you're just gonna have 1 course to take. Replace.
But also, I just want to point out the fact that it might not be an extra course, because if you look at I didn't share this in the agenda, but I passed it out, right? If you look at the sheet, right, you'd have to take some courses in areas 3 and 4 anyway. And 1 course is actually under area 7. So even if you end up taking another ICS course, it might be able to be double counted, right, in area 3 and 4 or 7. Right, if you pick the ICS ones from those areas, yeah. Jason.
And if I'm not mistaken, the ethnic studies classes, they have been changed, right? So it doesn't really fit the original intent of the ICS where it's intellectual breadth, because we need to follow the state laws of what ethnic studies is.
Well, that's a really good question. The answer has always been required extras. Even if you're not aware, right, Title V only has like a more narrow requirement. We've always been requiring more. And also, this is an associate degree. This is not for transfer. So this is super important because in a sense, I know a lot of you are, I don't know, gonna graduate in this after this quarter, but essentially what you're doing is you're deciding for students who are coming in, because this won't be effective until 2025. Right, and the whole reason why state is making the change to Title V is they're trying to align it with Calgetsy. So that when students are trying to compare the 2 patterns, they don't get confused as much. No guarantee that they're not gonna be confused totally, but at least the topics and the labeling numerically are gonna be the same. Right, but all these graduation requirements, the ICS, the ESGC, and the PD area, those are all extras. And Title V allows us to require extra. So I hope that that answers your question. It's not like we're not doing anything legally. We're still doing things legally, even if we require extra. Right? We've always been requiring the ICS graduation requirement as an extra. So. Yeah.
Anyone has an opinion on this? Kayla?
I mean, just having the 1 course requirement would be nice.
Yeah.
Like replacing it with 1.
Do you wanna, can we do like a count of, I mean, not a vote, but like more like a student opinion? So who wants it to be replaced? Raise your hand. Online audience also vote please. Yeah, I think it's a majority. Who has other opinions? One. Listen, you wanna talk about it?
I believe you want to keep the intent of the ICS course in the first place. I think it's much better to separate the section ethnic studies and one ICS, another one ICS approved course.
Do you mean like, we can keep it as an elective or,
No, I mean,
or like as a separate graduation requirement?
I think it should be a separate graduation program because right now, not everything in the ICS is ethnic studies, right? And so we separate the two ethnic studies and the non-ethnic studies ICS, and they need to take one of each.
Okay.
And they could, because most of the time, I think they could just see and check out that, oh, this fulfills both area 3 and ICS, and then they'll take that course instead. So,
Yeah, but why jump that hoop though?
huh?
Why jump that extra hoop?
Just to keep the original intent of the.
So would you saying like remove area 6 from intercultural studies?
Yeah, just separately.
But then that would be, I don't know if that would be philosophically correct, because ethnic studies should be part of intercultural studies, right? It is. Because they were approved for ICS initially. Right? So I would have an issue if we remove those courses from the ICS. Unless, I mean, renaming it doesn't, right, like it doesn't change the kind of contents of the courses.
Dennis?
Yeah, perhaps get some clarification. So are we basically talking about, I haven't looked at all the details, but basically talking about merging what is currently called ethnic studies, it's currently called ICS,
Yes.
into one group and calling it ethnic studies only, so that it matches the state description.
In a sense, ICS, it's a broader topic. Right, so there's really no merging because they were merged already. So essentially what the state decided was they're gonna require a more narrow focused intercultural studies requirement. Right, so the problem arises if we remove that subset of ethnic study courses out of the ICS. Then that means the student, if they take one ethnic studies course, they're done because it was from the ICS graduation requirement at the end, right? But now, on the flip side, what happens to the rest of the courses? What if a student wants to learn about women's studies? Right? Like, I mean, they still have to take one of those ethnic studies courses, right? But does it mean that will delay, right, their graduation? Or does it mean that they'll go ahead and take the women's studies course anyway, plus one ethnic studies course, right, in order to graduate? Did I answer your question? I mean, probably. Yeah, because we're not merging any.
So, okay, so currently we have
Yeah,
what, ethnic studies and ICS?
currently we have ICS.
Yeah. So ethnic studies
Yeah.
is mandated by the state recently. Okay, so that it has to be a graduation requirement.
All right,
Now, originally, we only had ICS
at the end,
at the end as a graduation requirement.
okay.
But since the state now requires ethnic studies, you have to take the ethnic studies class in order to graduate.
Yeah,
But because since it's only ICS does not fulfill ethnic studies, because A is B, but B is not A.
Okay, so we have ICS classes that fulfill the requirement that the state has, and some that do not fulfill. Okay,
So
Yeah,
therefore, it
yeah,
wouldn't fulfill
So-
ethnic studies.
exactly.
so what is your question? What is trying to be
So,
decided?
so what we're trying to decide is whether we just change, so two options. One option is to change ICS requirement to ethnic studies. The second requirement is, since we need ethnic studies, do we add on an ethnic studies requirement to it and then have an ICS requirement?
No, okay,
That's
I think you got that, it wouldn't make sense. So the classes that are in ICS that meet the state requirement
This ethnic studies.
Yes, so we would call those part of ethnic studies. And have that as a requirement.
It's a state requirement.
Yes,
It's-
and they
it's
would
by
have
law.
that as a
They
requirement.
have to do that.
They would be called ethnic studies, you know, in a section on here, right?
Mhm.
And then the other classes that don't fulfill ethnic studies requirements,
They're
they would
ICS.
stay ICS, they would stay in a section called ICS.
Mhm.
Actually, they're not in one section. They're spread out in areas 3 and 4. Yeah, that's why like curriculum, 3, 4, and 7. And also 6.
So is the
3, 4,
question
6,
about
7.
what you want to call it?
No, so
No labeling. The labeling will be pretty much like, they're set, right, in the G code.
Okay, so
Yeah.
is it just lay out, what is it that you need from the Senate? What is the?
So
feedback
we need
that-
to listen to this feedback on whether should we have an ethnic studies requirement as well as keeping the original ICS requirement? Or since we originally have the ICS requirement, change that ICS requirement into ethnic studies requirement so that we align with state requirements.
Well, wait, but all, yeah, that's where it gets confused. All the ICS classes that are under ICS requirement don't fulfill ethnic studies, so you can't just call them ethnic studies, right?
Some do, no?
Some do, but not all. do.
Yeah, the area 6, like the new area, those courses that you're looking at, those will fulfill both
Okay,
ethnic studies and ICS.
Can I make a suggestion? I don't think our Senate has the ability to, it was an discussion item anyway, so there's no action. But if you're asking for maybe a resolution or you just want feedback, okay. But I don't think they understand.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough context here. I mean, ethnic studies, I majored in ethnic studies. There is a very deep history, and as any of you've been watching news, there's been a lot of debate about the credibility of ethnic studies. So I would propose that, Isaac, maybe you bring this back another time and provide a little bit more information, the context and history, and then an exact statement of what it is that you want them to consider and to give feedback.
and perhaps a diagram of some sort. So here's what the current requirements are. Here's the two proposals. Right?
I don't think they I mean, I don't want to speak for the Senate, but are you all understanding this?
Yes.
So I saw, I feel like you could also give us some, examples of how these two changes side by side, apples to apples, of how a student can. The curriculums will be different.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting, some sort of.
Yeah, I actually,
Visual
you have, so
representation.
this is actually the change, right? So if you go on the current advisement sheet, you can actually do a side by side. This is actually the proposed on the sheet.
Do you have the current or do you?
The
have
current's online.
Yeah, do you have
Yeah.
the link?
I don't have, I have like a lot of presentation. Cause we've met like since February, March and April. And the GE committee have met like many times and the reason I'm here is because I kind of volunteer to be here because I really wanted to get students' input. Right? And we're kind of on a deadline. Because I have to go to academic senate and present this by the end of April so that we can vote. We can have an all faculty vote by May, right? So I could come back, but it will just delay the whole process. Right? Because there's gonna be some process that needs to be done by curriculum too, right? Because you might see this as a sheet of paper, but curriculum office has a lot of work in the background to shuffle the courses around, right?
So from a student standpoint, I think it makes sense to replace it because it's just simpler, it's less classes, nobody wants to take more classes to graduate than necessary. However, my one concern is for these classes that aren't part of the that aren't the ethnic studies that are affected, how would that affect their enrollment? How would that affect the professors and the like faculty that is teaching?
Yeah, that's why we're talking about this.
That's my
Exactly.
only concern
Yeah.
is, like, from a student standpoint, nobody wants to take more classes
Right,
than they
yeah.
need to graduate. But we also, I don't think these professors would appreciate having their class sizes cut because they aren't being, like, students aren't being given them as like something that they need to take to graduate anymore.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's my one concern.
Like, if it were up to me, I would definitely just get rid of all the extras and make it as simple as possible, just do it as far as Title V is changing it to Cal Get-C and be done with it, but I cannot do that, right? So that's why we're talking about the extra graduation requirement, right?
And I just wanna note that, I mean, ultimately, obviously, right? There are impacts probably to whatever changes we do to curriculum. But I think it's been pretty clear to me, at least, that nobody wants to take more classes and nobody wants more requirements. And I think 99% of here can agree to that, right? So I would say, unless anyone objects, that I think student opinion is make it as simple as possible. And in these two options, either replacing the ICS requirement with ethnic studies, which we have to do because it's a state requirement, versus implementing a new area to, for say, fulfill the state requirement, ethnic studies. I think, at least from a purely student standpoint, replacing would be the more ideal, but again, student, anyone opinions?
I just wanna add like a point, if we replace it, it's not a complete overlap. Right? So ethnic study is your square, you put it on top of rectangle, there's still spaces around it, right? So we're talking about the spaces are women's studies, right? Like other kinds of intercultural, right? Because there are more groups than just the 4 agreed groups, right? So do we, as students, what do you think? Do you want to learn more about other cultural groups, right? What's the?
Okay, Jenna first, and then Katya, and then Dennis, and then Jason.
I was wondering, is there any other like category that we can incentivize students to take women studies for the non-ethnic studies of ICS? Really, like, if ethnic studies replaces ICS, like, would there just be not really incentive people to go out of their way to take this course anymore? Or is there still like another category that would allow them to like focus and retire?
It would be graduation requirements, so there will be no double counting. Like, I mean, opposite, that you're allowed to double count, so if you decide to take like an ICS approved course in area 3, that could qualify you to get that course be approved under area 3 too. So you wouldn't necessarily need to take an extra course, if that's what you're.
I mean, if we replace ICS with ethnic studies, then like would women's studies, for example, or like the extra space versus basically, would they like, would there still be consent to take them for a different requirement?
There would be, yeah, because it would need an area, another area, right? Because they're not in a separate area. They're within area 3, 4, and 7. So those are your humanities and social sciences, right? So essentially, even if you require another ICS course, it's not double, like you're not doing extra units. Right? If you're interested in that.
First, can I get a motion to extend discussion by 30 minutes? Please, motion to extend discussion, or yeah, whatever time.
I'm to extend by 10 minutes.
Can I get a second?
Are there any objections?
Okay. What was it, extend time by 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10.
Okay, and we're going to take you.
We need a vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, a person objected, so we have an actual vote.
I'll second that.
Your objection.
Okay, guys, it's an IND item. By the way. It's not like-
Hey, it goes to vote.
Did you rescind your objection or?
No.
Oh,
Either you can't say anything, you want to.
No. Okay, I live.
Yes, it's extended.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes.
Hannah? Hannah?
Hannah.
Yes. Okay, Caitlin? Yes. And yes.
Yeah.
Joel is not. Yeah.
No.
Ariana? Yeah. Ian?
No.
Ted?
No.
Megan? No. Benjamin?
Yes.
Renji?
No.
DeAndre?
Yes.
Christopher Blue?
Yes.
Aaron?
No.
Priya? Yes. Adrian? Yes. Donna? Yes. Jason?
Yes.
Nicholas?
No.
Kate? Yes. Matthew? Yes. Daniela? Yes. Yes. Matsuko? No. Eddie?
Yeah.
Angie?
No.
No? Gavin?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
So this is the resolution 19 yes, and okay, so the motion was passed, we can continue for. Oh,
Anyone want to start off? Oh wait, there was I said Kathleen first, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically what John was asking about, because, basically, like, yeah, whether there's incentive to take in the studies, it seems like there's really no downside, like, if there is that extra section, then like, for area 3, then like, and for area 4, both have these studies overlap. So like, it's just essentially saying like, the section incentivizes people to take that one for either area 3 or 4. But like, for people who don't do it, then they'll have to do that. So, yeah.
Dennis?
Yeah, so I think I now have a clear understanding. So we have to have an ethnic studies area. The question is, should we have an ethnic studies area and an ICS area? Or just an ethnic studies area, correct? And if we don't have an ICS area, most or all of those classes are still covered in other areas, is that what you're saying? Hello?
Can you repeat what your
Yeah,
last question?
so the two options, that we're deciding on is, we have to have an ethnic studies area.
Mhm.
So the two options are, one, have an ethnic studies area only.
Yep.
And have an ethnic studies area and still have an ICS area for the other classes that don't fall into ethnic studies. If we don't have an ICS area, all of the remaining classes are still covered in the other areas, or just some?
Yeah, they'll remain as electives, right? They'll remain in area 3, 4, and 7. Area 6, they have to take one, right? Because
Yeah.
students have to take like the courses in the area. Okay,
But,
if we remove the ICS graduation requirement, then there'll be no ICS graduate, there'll be no, like, you see how there's a triangle? I think it's, no, it's not triangle, it's the asterisk, it's the star, right? It's the star. It's the star next to the course. So all of those are ICS graduation requirement approved courses currently, right? So if we remove all of those, then those courses will still remain in the respective areas, but there will be no ICS graduation requirement. Did I answer your question? I'm not
Yes,
sure.
that answered the question,
Okay.
but to answer some of the students' concerns then. It looks like though, you could go and graduate without taking some of those classes that some people might want students to take, like women's studies. It's listed under area 3, but there are a lot of other things listed under area 3, so students could still graduate without taking, for example, a women's studies.
You're correct, and then we're not trying to require women's studies, that's just one of the examples that I used, right? But on the flip side of that, if a student wanted to pick women's studies for, say, area 3 or 4, I don't have it all memorized, but whichever area that it is currently in, they can still use that to meet area 3 or 4 or 7 requirements, right?
Yes, but the concern we've heard from some people is there's no longer an incentive for them to take women's studies. And that might be something people would want students to
Yeah.
at least be encouraged.
Yeah, that would be
That's-
like, you're
that's
talking
where
about
the-
more like enrollment purposes, right?
Yeah.
Like for enrollment.
But for at least.
Not just enrollment, but because as a society, we want people to be interested in all these things.
Exactly, yes. You're correct.
Adrian, wait, Matthew first, yeah.
I had two things I want to say. I do think the ICS requirement is important because I think part of our job as a college is to create well-rounded students. And I think ICS supports that. And then also on the sheet, it says that 2 ICS courses are currently required. Is that correct?
Just one. It's one. Currently, it's one. This is the
Okay.
new, yeah, this is the proposed. Yeah, if we were to keep ICS graduation requirement. Because technically, you would take one that's required by the state. In area
Ethnic
6
studies,
for
not
ethnic studies.
ICS.
Ethics of you.
Yeah.
Adrian?
The new one is ethnic studies is required.
Yes,
No ICS is required.
no, yes.
Just keep that.
But you know, just to interject there. There's no requirement for like ICS in Title V, right? It's an extra. We're allowed to introduce extra into the G pattern.
Adrian and then Jason and then Trayvon, and then how about, that's probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, so the last thing I'd like to say, Jill would like to say we should replace it with the ethnic studies requirement, because the classes that would be affected are still listed under other requirements for students to take. Students are still having the option to take those courses to fill one of their requirements. It's not like they're not listed anymore.
They're still there.
They're still listed, they're still there, and they're still an option that students can take. And if their major leans towards that, then they can, of course, they can take as many of those.
But as Dennis pointed out, there'll be less incentive, right? Because
But it's still an
will
option
not-
listed.
Exactly.
The thing, it's still an option listed, so they can take it if they want, and nobody wants to take more classes than they need to.
Yeah, Jason?
I keep going back to this, but my whole question with this is that because of this change, the ethnic studies courses, will it change from this year to let's say 2025 to fit the state requirements? Because if it doesn't change, then it sort of fulfills our ICS, the point of ICS, right? Just to have like a big breadth of the world, but if it does change and it doesn't fulfill that intent, now, then I see we do require another ICS that's not ethnic studies.
It won't change. It will just be the 4 ethnic groups.
But does the courses in the ethnic studies right now, will it change from now and later on when
It
it was?
will change like more instructors. If we remove the ICS, more instructors might rewrite the course to have them fit into the ethnic studies area. So you might see more courses popping up under area 6.
Yeah, it's not about the course, but does the course content change? If it doesn't change, then if the course content doesn't change, then then this ethnic studies does fulfill the ICS, the intent of ICS from the years past, right?
Yeah,
So
well, just a little background, because you mentioned that. There has been a lot of work by the IIS division. Like instructors actually did a lot of work to rewrite the courses to have it approved under the Area 6. I don't know if you're aware of that, but the CSUGE, there was a lot of back and forth between us and the state to have those courses approved. Right now, like this list of courses. Yeah, so. I mean, if that gives any context, then.
Caitlin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I understand like wanting to make our student body like a very strong student body in multiple areas. I feel like making students take an extra class almost comes from like a more privileged point of view. My roommate, along with the people I work with, like work to pay rent. Like going to even community college, even though there's a promise program, it takes a lot of money and a lot of hard work to go to school, and they're just like trying really hard to get their associates. And it's hard working so many hours. I feel like just adding another requirement, adding another course. It just makes it harder, especially for a lot of community college students who do a lot.
Last question.
Wait, so just to confirm, this is accurate, right?
Can't hear you.
Let me see.
The top corner part, or the bottom, incentivize students to take.
And while we're looking at it, I do want, it's an I/D. So no action will be taken, but I do want some feedback. Formally, at least from the Senate. Would you, I think at least most people are informed enough. On the options, would you guys mind taking a non-binding vote? Just to see what student opinion is.
Can I just like qualify, like the top description? That's on the basis for students who don't want to take another. Right, yeah, exactly, okay.
I just want to add a slight explanation. So it sounds like it's not like you have to take an extra course.
No.
It's like, okay, let's say there's like women's studies, ethnic studies, and like some third like humanities, anthropology, that type of thing. That's just like elective basically, right? So students that are coming into DASG and are looking at these courses, they're like, okay, how many classes do I have to take to like basically simplify and have to only take like 2 classes instead of 3. So we'll look at it, like, okay, I like kind of interested in humanity, but I know I have to take women's studies and like Native American studies, okay? So they're like, okay, so I'm just gonna not take humanities, because then that way I can only take 2 classes, and then I'll just take women's studies.
Yeah, so in that example, no extra. Yeah.
Right, and then if they still want to take humanities,
Yes,
then they add that.
yes.
Okay, can I get Beatrice, if you're in favor of having ethnic studies and ICS requirement, raise your hand. Hi, guys. 4, not counting it, right? Ethnic studies only, raise your hand. Are you, huh?
I was confused.
Oh.
Hi, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, thank you.
So I just want to like conclude this, right? I know that Isaac mentioned that this is a non-binding vote. So what will happen next is I'll bring your opinions back to the G committee, right? And then the proposal will be made. And then again, academic senate cannot vote on this. So what will happen is the proposal with all the changes will go through an all faculty vote in May. Okay. So I'm just a messenger, I'm the facilitator, right? So whatever happens in the end, it's not because of, what you decided, it's a lot of different factors as well.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay, moving on to the next item, this is the AP policy. We'll be presenting the revised, administrative procedures. You can read them here, especially the student rights and responsibilities. DHC support. And we have Dr. Okay. Would you like to share screen or I can't open the Facebook? You're muted right now. Sorry.
Actually have a brief presentation I can go over first, and then we can go through, and if folks want to look at certain aspects or have questions about my presentation. I know I have only a limited amount of time, so let me just get started here. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so let me share my screen. All right. So this is an update to the Foothill De Anza Community College District Administrative Procedure and Board Policy Review Process. Some of you may recall that I presented last fall on these policies and just sort of where we were in the process. And I'll kind of recap some of the information for some of you who may be new. And the reason we needed to update these procedures is because the last time they had been updated was 2009. And so we really wanted to make sure that we updated them in line with current procedures, current education code, and other kinds of changes in our system since that time. Okay, so as you recall, the committee's charge for the group was to review and recommend revisions to the following board policies and administrative procedures, which was Board Policy 5500, which is the student rights and responsibilities. There were no revisions needed to that. This was a very general overview of just kind of explaining the purpose of the policies. Administrative 5500, student rights and responsibilities. No revisions were needed because there were no substantive changes to that section of the policy. Administrative Procedure 5510, which is our student code of conduct. There were changes made to that. Administrative Procedure 5520, student due process and discipline. There were some changes to that as well. And AP 5530, which is student grievances. So let me go on to remind you of who the committee members were. We had faculty representatives, administrators, including myself, faculty administrators, including Dr. Hanji Baker. We also had a classified representative, and we had numerous student representatives from each college, because this is a district-wide procedure. Okay, so the policy revision process, again, the purpose is to ensure that the policies comply with current Title V California Education Code and other state and federal regulations. So these updated drafts were prepared by the Student Grievances Board Policy Administrative Procedures Work Group beginning in winter 2022. So as you can see, this took quite a long time to do this because we wanted to be very careful to ensure that we had the policies reflect, again, current law. We had a lot of changes in the law during that time, especially around Title IX and other parts of the education code that changed. We also had, some of the members of our committee change during that time. And so the initial deadline for the completion of the work was the end of the 2023 winter quarter, but the first final drafts were completed in May 2023, and they subsequently went to the District Academic and Professional Matters Committee, which is the district-wide committee that reviews these policies at the administrative level. Okay, so the current committee status is that the drafts have been reviewed and approved by the following committees: District Academic and Professional Matters Committee, the De Anza Academic Senate, the Foothill College Academic Senate, and the Associated Students of Foothill College, ASFC. These approvals were very recent. The only reason we weren't able to have you all do it at the very end of the winter quarter is because that was a very busy time. I mean, you had very full agendas at the time. So the policies are currently awaiting final approval from DASG, and that's why I'm here today to share these with you. Okay, so I want to kind of go over the highlights of some of the major changes we made to these. Some of you may remember some of these, but I wanted to go through them again. So one of the challenges we had with the previous policy, particularly around the student grievance policy, is that there were two different types of days spoken of in the policy. We had work days, which is basically Monday through Friday, excluding holidays and periods of time when the campus is closed. And then we had calendar days, which of course is 7 days a week, right? So we needed to make that consistent so that the policy was much more easy to follow and that the student would know how much time they actually had. We really felt it was also important to make sure that all pronouns were gender neutral. We also lengthened the time frame for students to file a grievance because we noted that the time frame that students had was very short, and sometimes by the time the student figured out that there was a concern or that they could file a grievance, the time would have elapsed under the previous policy. So we wanted to make sure that we lengthened the time frame for students to file a grievance to give them ample opportunity to have their concerns addressed. We also clarified the process for students to pursue an informal resolution to their concerns. We like to try to always resolve issues at the lowest level possible so that hopefully it doesn't have to go as far as a grievance. If we can get the mutual parties together and work through a solution, that's our ultimate hope in these cases. We added additional definitions for terms used in the policy for clarity, because sometimes some of the terminology students were not familiar with. We also added and removed grounds for grievances to ensure the proper jurisdiction for addressing the concerns. There are some things in there that really shouldn't be addressed in the grievance process because they don't fit with that process. There's also already another process for addressing those concerns. So highlights of the major changes to the student code of conduct. We made sure that in the preamble, we included equity as an essential principle. We felt that was really important because equity needs to be at the center of all of the work that we do and all of the policies that we have here as a campus and district. We incorporated changes in line with current technology. And for example, we changed campus technology resources. We changed it to that in place of computing facilities because that was back in the day when we always thought of things being big mainframes. Now, campus technology resources could be any resource. It could be Canvas. It could be our email system. It could be the portal. It could be anything that uses our technology resources. We also updated the Title IX and the discrimination language in the policy. As many of you know, or some of you may know, recent years, we've had quite a lot of change to our Title IX policies at the federal and the state level. And so some of those changes, we had to make sure that we work them into our policy. We also added anti-bullying language to the standards of conduct. And we included additional conduct standards based on previous cases that we know that really weren't covered in the policy, but should be. And then the highlights of the major changes for the student due process and discipline. We changed the standard of evidence from substantial evidence to preponderance of the evidence to be consistent with other due process policies and practices within the district, which is required by federal Title IX law. We included the right of the accused to cross-examine witnesses via the hearing board chair, so that if they're in a hearing and someone they have a question about something that was said, they can actually ask a question via the chair. We also incorporated changes in line with current technology, for example, Zoom and how we record our hearings. It used to be, it had their stenographic notes or tape recording, right? But we use Zoom now for recording our hearings, and we may use other technology that's more advanced than previously. We also include a list of the possible range of sanctions. So students will be aware of what the possible consequences are of any violations they may commit. We clarified the appeal process, so the students would like to appeal any sanctions or decisions made in the discipline process. They have the opportunity and they have adequate information for doing so. And we provide an opportunity for classified staff to serve on hearing boards as well, in line with our shared governance practices. So one also important change we made was to the class removal process. Previously, if a student was very, very disruptive and was asked to leave the class, and they had to leave the class for that day and the next class meeting, the instructor usually had to notify the vice president and then me. Well, actually, we felt it was more important that the instructor notify the division dean, who would notify the vice president, or if they report to the vice president, they would notify that person, and the student discipline officer, because should not be one of the first people notified. It really should be for the academic division dean to have that privilege of being notified. So, and then also it would be that division dean that would set up a meeting with the involved parties to try to resolve the issue rather than myself, because that would make, if it was left the other way, it would actually be not consistent with our grievance policy also. So that was another thing. Any questions?
I don't see any questions right now. Should we move on to looking through the draft?
Yes, and hopefully folks had a chance to look through them previously, because some of these policies are quite lengthy. Has anyone had an opportunity to look at them and have any specific questions about these policies?
I don't see any questions in person.
I'm seeing the chat. I was wondering why the last section was removed, assuming removed because it's red text. Oh yeah, that really should be in. Let me see what you're looking. Let me see. Can we see what we're looking at here? Did you want to put the policy up for? Oh, I understand. Okay, so let me hold on. Let me go to this really quick and see if I can find what you're looking for or what you're looking at. I think I know what you're looking at. Oh, yes. No, that was actually added. That was actually added. And what you're asking about, let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay. So here was actually added. And we added this to be in accordance with, or to be in compliance with Title IX. So any individual who participates as a complainant or a witness in an investigation of a sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking will not be subject to disciplinary sanctions for a violation of the student code of conduct at or near the time of the incident. So let me give you an example. Say, for example, you have two students on campus and they're out in the parking lot and they're in a car and they're drinking. According to our policy, students are not allowed to drink alcohol on campus. It is against our student code of conduct to have alcohol or any other controlled substance. And say, for example, one of the students drinks so much that they pass out. And the other student in the car then sexually assaults that person while they're unconscious. The individual who realizes they've been sexually assaulted, they report it to our Title IX coordinator here and indicate what happened, that they were in the parking lot, they were drinking heavily, and that this individual was assaulted by the other person. In that case, even though the student was engaging in a behavior that's against our code of conduct, they would not be subject to discipline if they've been sexually assaulted. We would not do that. We would pursue the sexual assault charges against the individual who allegedly sexually assaulted them, but we would not then turn around and punish them for being intoxicated. Because we really don't want to discourage individuals from coming forward if they've been assaulted. And to punish them for drinking while in the process of that happening may discourage that person. And we don't want that. We want to be able to address a serious crime, which is sexual assault. That's much more serious than the drinking. Now, if they were in the parking lot and they were drinking and they both passed out and nothing happened, and they were discovered to have been passed out drunk, that's a totally different story. But, you know, if someone has some crime committed against them, we don't want them to be afraid to come forward thinking they'll get in trouble. Does that make sense? Okay, does anybody have any other questions? And we could go through the whole policy changes if you like, or if you wanted to go through and have any questions, or because I know there's only a limited amount of time and there's quite a lot to look at. I'm open to however you all want to explore this. I appreciate the question. Yeah, and oh, yeah, no problem with the different colors. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we left the corrections in so you can see what was pre and post. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. I know it can be a little confusing with the different colors. I don't know why Word does that with certain things, but that can be a challenge. I think it's because different people have worked on different parts of the policy over the time, and then that's why the colors are different. Anything else? And what I'm actually seeking today is support for approval for these policies, but I want to make sure you have a chance to ask questions about any of them before you were able to do that.
Being as if I think the majority of our senators haven't yet been able to review all these drafts. Maybe we could briefly go over some of them to see if there are any more questions and then approve them, if that's possible.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I can just kind of go through pretty quickly. I'll start with the student code of conduct. I know like I said, I know it's only so much time, but I'll make sure I share this. Okay, so, oh no, this is not the right one. This was the other one I was looking at. Hold on, let me stop sharing. Ah. That's what happens when you have too many things open at once. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, here we go. All right. So really, as I mentioned before, we wanted to make sure that we added equity and inclusion in our policy because that's a very important principle to the college and the district and should be foundational to all the work that we do. One major change that we added to the section 5, all the rest pretty much are academic dishonesty and unauthorized preparation, given, selling, transfer, distribution, or publication for sale of any notes or recordings. You know, that's number 2. Number 3 is dishonesty, forgery, alteration, or misuse of college or district documents, records, or identification. Basically fraudulent documents or misusing or altering or doing anything like that. Number 4 is obstruction or disruption of teaching, research, administration, disciplinary procedures, or other college or district activities, right? And this is online, in person, via phone, any of those ways, any of those things, right? Because there's multiple ways to be disruptive, especially now that we're not all just sitting in classrooms in person. We have people taking classes online as well, right? Number 5 is physical or verbal abuse of any person or conduct which threatens or endangers the health or safety of that person. So it's also causing or attempting to cause or threatening to cause any physical injury to another person. Another one is bribery, offering to pay an employee or offering favors in exchange for preferential treatment, including inflated grades, exam copies, of other confidential information. Believe it or not, we have had students try to bribe faculty for grades. That's happened over the years. Fortunately, the faculty members came forward. Number 7, of course, causing damage to college or district property. Number 8 is one we changed because it was not just stealing or attempting to steal a college or district property or private property on campus, or knowingly furnishing stolen college or district property or private property on campus, but it's also committing or attempting to commit a robbery, theft, larceny, or extortion. Theft can take many different forms. It can be something as simple as stealing someone's wallet that you see sitting on a desk somewhere. It could be stealing something out of the bookstore or cafeteria. It could be filling out fraudulent documents to get, money in some sort of way. It could be robbing someone, by snatching their bag. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. So we want to make sure we covered all those here. Number 9, of course, is willful misconduct that results in injury or death of a student to college or district personnel, which results in cutting, defacing, or other injury to the real or the physical property or personal property owned by the college or the district or the campus. So we've had students that in the past, for example, vandalize by spray painting, all over certain areas that would come under that. Someone driving recklessly in the parking lot and hitting someone would fall under that. Unauthorized entry or use of college or district facilities. We've had students break into offices before. That's an example. Violation of college or district policies of campus for regulations, policies of campus regulations, including those concerning registration of student organizations, use of college or district facilities, or the time, place, and manner. That's, for example, if someone were to be a part of a large group of people that went and just disrupted an area. Number 12 is, of course, unlawful possession, use, sale, offer to sale, furnishing, or being under the influence of any controlled substance, alcohol, drugs, etc. Number 13 is possession or sale of any firearm, knife, explosive, or other object that could be classified as a weapon. Number 14 is disruptive behavior, willful disobedience, habitual profanity or vulgarity, or the open and persistent defiance of authority or persistent abuse of college or district personnel, which includes failure to comply with a directive given by a college or district personnel in accordance with established policies. So that's when a student is not following, when they've been given a directive or they've been told to do or not to do something, and that something is in accordance with our policy and they don't do that, then that person also here could have a consequence. Being in a classroom and using profanity, cursing at the instructor or other students, and being disruptive. Those are examples of that one. Number 15 is gambling on college or district property. Hazing or any act that injures, degrades, or disgraces or tends to injure, degrade, or disgrace any fellow student or other persons. Hazing usually is found to be associated with clubs or organizations in certain venues, like at universities. A lot of the Greek organizations have rituals that could be considered hazing, sometimes athletic teams as well. Disorderly conduct or lewd, indecent, or obscene behavior, conduct or expression on district-owned or controlled property or at district-sponsored or supervised functions. And that would be, for example, someone decides there's a football game on the football field and they decide they're going to take all their clothes off and run around naked and streak, right? We've seen that in some sports events that would fall under something like that. And then another one is willful or persistent smoking or vaping.
I'm gonna interrupt you just a second. I think there was a miscommunication.
Yes.
So, am
You need to mute.
I muted?
You need.
So, I don't think we were asking for you to go item by item because we don't want you to be here forever too, but I think it was just the changes.
Okay, yes, okay, so essentially, I'll go down to the next one. Thank you for the clarification. I just wanted to make sure if anyone had questions about this, because I know there was some concern or some questions potentially about this code of conduct policy, but yeah, I'll just go through the changes. So the next change would be number 21, which is engaging in harassing or discriminatory behavior based on race, sex, religion, age, national origin, gender expression, sexual orientation, disability, or any other status protected by law, policy, or statute. And also, a violation would be violating any state or federal law prohibiting harassment, stalking, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, sexual misconduct, or any other form of violence or harassment, including Title IX, Campus Save, and/or Violence Against Women Act. Those are really important federal and state laws against violence, various forms of violence, usually related to some sort of intimate relationship. And then the last one is engaging in harassing and or intimidating. Oh no, wait a minute, second to last. Conduct or bullying against another student or a college employee through words, action, including direct physical contact, verbal assault, such as teasing or name calling, social isolation or manipulation, and cyberbullying. We felt those are really important to add. So does anybody have any questions about any of this?
Adrian?
So do these changes, do they apply to the things that are only happening on campus or off campus? Like, I know for some of them, it's like for substance anyway, like students who are over 21 are allowed to drink off campus on their own. But when it comes to like bullying, if you're bullying from someone from school, but you're doing it off campus, does that still apply? Like, same with most of these, like, do these apply to situations only on campus? Or do they apply to off campus as well?
That's a very good question, and it depends. It always depends, right? For any kind of offense that is related to Title IX, which would be sexual assault, sexual harassment, intimate partner violence, dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, that could be on or off campus. Because the individual who is committing this violation is our student and they're doing it to another student, whether it's here or somewhere else, that definitely would be something that we would address for sure, regardless. If it's bullying and if it's an off-campus bullying situation, but it has an on-campus impact, that is something we would also address. But you're correct. If it's something like a student drinking and they're over 21 and they're in their living room and they're having, a martini, we're not concerned about that. That's the person's life. And if they're doing this off campus and they're underage, we have no jurisdiction over that. So that's pretty much where that would fall. The other thing is there are some controlled substances like marijuana that is legal for recreational use. If a student is doing that off campus at home, regardless of their age, that's irrelevant. If they're doing it on campus, regardless of their age, that is something that we have prohibited because it's prohibited by the Attorney General's office in the state of California because we're a drug-free campus, right? And that's federal law, the Drug-Free Schools Act. So that's a very good question. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions.
Yes, and I had a question from David from the Regional Affairs Director. Yes, please feel free to contact me and your advisor, Dr. Hanji Baker, because she would be very familiar with this, our policies and practices around that, for sure. Yes. In the chat is what I'm referring to. Any other questions? And as I went back, I can go back to my presentation. The other policies, the major changes that we made were actually in support of students because we gave students more time to file complaints. We clarified the language. We made it much easier to understand. We also made clarity around the timelines. Those are the major changes we made to those policies. But other than that, there weren't significant changes except for things that were going to give students more time to address their concerns. Anything else? So I really would love to see if there's approval for these policies.
We need a motion.
Adrian?
I moved to approve these policies.
Caitlin.
I second.
Okay, moved by Adrian, seconded by Caitlin to approve these policies. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion is passed. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
And if any of you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and I'm willing to come back and do another presentation about other aspects of things that may be of interest to you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it and your great questions. Much appreciated.
Okay, so the third business item, we extended the elections, so we won't be going over this item. Last business item is for Senate structural changes. Addition of a public relations officer. So this item is to present, discuss, and possibly approve a additional peer officer for the marketing committee starting next year. So Chris, do you want to please present it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it short and simple because I'm tired. Marketing needs another senator and PR in specific is a very heavy role as it is. So by having 2 PR officers next year, it would improve aspects of DASG such as our outreach to students and programs and organizations on campus. It would improve our promotional materials, so not just putting up flyers and A-frames and all that, but also getting the events more established on campus, putting in OCL submission forms, the events calendar for Kansas. Intern helped with that already this year. However, when it's just one senator controlling all of that, it's very difficult. So I would like to see 2 PR officers next year. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would approve.
Okay, moved by Ian, seconded by Renji, any second? Seeing none, we have an addition.
So we know for the, Eastern Washington election.
Okay. Are there any public comment?
Yeah. So, can anyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay, good. So, hi, my name is Natsuko. I'm Hancock representative. So I was approached by Miss Cecilia G. And the following goes, okay? What we observed was that there's disrespect towards the ex-candidate Cecilia G. There was whispering amongst senators, sudden noise of a phone, someone opening TikTok, disrespect towards the witness, President Lydia Wong rolling her eyes, President Wong, yelling at the witness, being aggressive, senators gossiping, insulting and gossiping, calling the candidate a liar, Vice President, putting it in inadmissible information, the bribery accusation. DSG didn't even bother to consider taking Miss Cecilia G's complaint alone, which connected to stalking. I guess, it wasn't brought up at all. So I suggest that to, show a little bit of kindness at least, to apologize to Mrs. Cecilia G. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Renji?
I just wanted to pretty much talk about, it's kind of disheartening to hear from the public that one of my colleagues, Vice Chair Nina Haywood, was bullying them or spreading rumors about them. And as far as I've worked with Nina Haywood, I haven't had that experience, and I also want to reassert that Nina Haywood attends Foothill College and not DeAnta College.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Moving on to advisor announcements.
Just a reminder for, any of the executive officers for 24-25 that are here. that there will be the training next Friday for the new executive officers here in this room 12 to 4. Just a reminder about that.
Dana or Marita, do you have any advice on that? Okay, seeing none, we don't have okay. So moving on to introduction and approval of prospective senators. If you are an elected executive for next year or a candidate for chair of finance, could you please come up here, introduce yourself and type in your name and which position you'll be for. You are.
I guess.
So I guess this is your third time to remind everyone who are running or have been elected as an executive officer for next year's Senate. You still, have certain requirements to fulfill in Supreme Court. And if I remember correctly, I think that's 2 Senate meetings, 2 meetings at the committee you're going to be, chairing or being an interim officer for.
Hello, I'm Yan Bing. Oh, well,
And I think one shared governance meeting, I think as well, if I remember right. And then any trainings and so.
hi, I'm Yan Ming. I'm running for the chair of finance.
Hello, Luca Paliska. I'm running for president.
You already ran.
You're going to be next year's president.
All right, I'm going to be vice president next year.
Hi, I'm Zane Darwish, and I'll be ready for chair of finance.
Oh, hi, I'm Katya Bravo. I'm going to be the new chair of SRE. Hi, I'm Phoebe, the future chair of programs.
Okay, I adjourned this meeting at 5:48 p.m.
What if